Okay everybody, and welcome back to part 2, I think, of the build video on this. It's going to be more of an update than actual doing stuff, because I've been doing stuff as and when I can do it and not been too bothered about recording. So just to sort of update what's happening. Whether this was done before or not, I can't remember. But this has all been glued in the bottom. So I'm going to go over this just in case I didn't in the build one, in part 1. If I did, then apologies for that. But basically, you're meant to have these wings detachable. There's a plastic thing inside to make it happen. Those plastic things broke for me, so I just ended up gluing the wing on. So this is glued on, actually using the same glue that came with the My Twin Dream. So they were glued on, left this area exposed. Everything's been wired in. Everything's on connectors, so I can swap wires over and everything if the motors spin the wrong way. We've also got this tray still open. I might put my video transmitter in there to keep it away from everything else. And as of yet, there is no, there isn't the launchy doodad on the bottom yet. I'll explain what that is in a moment. This is something that I modified slightly, and you can see by the clear Gorilla Tape that something's happened here. Basically, I hate it when you sort of glue in the piece of foam over tubes and you also glue in all the wires, especially with something like this where you've got 4 power wires, 2 speed controls and 2 servo wires. So what I did is, you can sort of see, not the brilliant job as we got to the middle, but I cut this foam piece in half, and I've glued the front piece where the wing spar goes to, so that's nice and strong. But this piece at the back, where the cables run through, is just taped in. That's all it is. It doesn't need any strength, it just keeps the wires tidy. So that's all that has been used for. So if we flip it over, you'll see that some shenanigans have been going on up here. So first things first, I've glued in the foam for our camera. I'm going to be using one of the cheapo Banggood cameras in this, because it doesn't need a stand. So that needs gluing on there. It was glued on, but it came off because I stood it up. One of the worst things about the FI41 is the fact that because it has this thing stuck on the front of it, bits often break off that they're attached to. So, but to be honest with you, it doesn't look like I've got enough glue on here, so I'm probably going to use some contact adhesive on here and properly glue it in now. I've got this piece glued up together. So this is just the front piece. You are meant to screw it on. I'm going to glue it on because why not? And I've, as you see, I've cut it out for the airspeed sensor. I am going to have the run cam up here, so I hope that this doesn't go too much in the view. I'm probably not going to see it from the camera underneath here, which, as I say, is just be a standard camera. Now, in terms of what's going on up here, the wires have been routed in into sort of a wily to fit into this, because I'm using the FI41 now and not the F405, because I'm going to use that in the Dart XL, so it's more of a direct comparison compared to the Mini. And so these wires still need extending towards the front. In terms of what battery I'm going to put in here, I'm not really sure. That's what it recommends. 3300 to a 5300. Okay, so I'm probably going to put in a multi-star 1500 in here, and we'll wire it up as such for those. So yeah, that needs gluing back on. The tray is glued in for the battery, just needs the Velcro putting underneath, as is the tray for the flight controller. There's the flight controller put in. I have had a bit of a problem. I basically broke one of the wires. Luckily the wire I broke is for the throttle, which I don't use on FI41s. I keep that strictly put into my receiver. As you can see, the throttle pin number 3 is missing. Another thing, of course, is because I broke that connector and damaged a few of the others, they kind of been put in, and I might just run some hot glue across the back of it to keep them in strongly. But yeah, that's just going to go down on that wooden plate. This actually fits fairly perfectly between the plate and that foam runner at the back. As previously mentioned, I've got the video transmitter I'm going to put in the back there. Whether I'm going to use my secret source video transmitters, or if I'm just going to use one of the standard 5.8s, I don't know. In this pocket, which I can't actually get at, I should probably change that, but I have the FI41 GPS. You can see the cable running over there. Should be fine through the foam. Didn't have to cut or change anything. I just velcroed it in, and it's then had this put over the top. Now this has had some modifications. So this is the 4.3, not 4.3, but these UHF receiver. So this is the standard antenna that comes with it. I'm going to have it running across the wing. You can see where I've cut it. And that's just going to run along the wing for that direction. And then on this end I've got the improved, I'd be crazy, coiled dipole. So that weird black thing you saw sticking through the end of the wing, that's the coiled section of this dipole. Basically the idea is that a normal dipole, you have this same wire coming out the bottom. But the trouble is that a lot of FPV planes are belly landers. So it's fine, I mean it's flexible wire, so it will just sort of flex back underneath, but it's still not the most great idea. So basically what you do is you take this same length of wire but coil it up underneath, and as you can see it barely sticks out the bottom of the plane at the bottom. So that should be fine. That's a connector for the current sensor for that, which would go about here. I have cut a little bit more out. You can see where I've cut, because the grey is a slightly different colour, just to give more room there. I don't see why it has to be that size. I've just gone down to the carbon rod. So you can see where I put this through. The problem with these is I would have one of these on both of them, because these are better than the standard ones that come with it. But the problem is if you try and have one, like the max you could do is 45 degrees because they come out to the same point. So it's a shame that they don't have one that's a bit short, so I could order like 2 short ones, 2 long ones, and have enough for 2 receivers. So I have one twisting around here, because the loaded bit at the bottom is quite solid because it's just coiled up wire. In terms of the casing here, you can see I've cut out both end pieces and shaved away quite a bit of the foam inside and here to get that to fit, but it is a lot smoother than on some other models that I've seen where people like to stick these out in the wings. As that's going to go there. Video transmitter is probably going to go back here somewhere, try and get some air scooping over there. But yeah, we're steadily moving on with this. I need to still program this to work with my X7S. I am still, I think these last 2 8-channel receivers that I've purchased may be the last that I purchase for easy UHF, and I think I'm going to steadily move away from it. It sucks because if I go in my drawer here, I have, out of the mini Sky Hunter, one of those, and actually 4 of those, or 3 of the 4 channels kicking about. So it's kind of a shame, but to be honest with you, I think I'm going to steadily start moving over to the R9M. I'm probably going to continue to steadily move models from my Field Force 10, which is getting a bit old in the tooth, to my X7S, which I love that radio. It's so much better than the regular Tyrannus. But the things that I do miss is some of the sliders, and the casing, while a better idea and in a way better built, is also built cheaply. Like for example, the leather on the sides, is starting to come off and things like that. By the way, that's how much fun I've had to remove to get all this done. Some of this is like overshoots, but you know what I mean. That I have been looking at possibly getting the X10S, the sort of Horus basic model, because that comes with the free R9 module and receiver, and just see how we get on. Because the trouble is the module in the X10S is actually 100 milliwatts less than the sort of outer casing one. I was originally looking at possibly getting the 2-watt transmitter, but they stopped making them because they were overheating, and the fact that nothing's sort of been done with these UHF for such a long time. And as well, I kind of feel like if they do something with Easy UHF now, what they would do is bring out a new 4.3, is not bringing it out on 433 with 900 megs anyway. So it's one of these things where it's kind of like, well, I'm not sure if I want to be loyal to a brand that I think if they do come back, it'll be different anyway. I wouldn't buy TBS because I just hate the company, in all honesty. It's run by an asshole. As soon as he's not involved with it, I will shop with them, but until then I won't. And just like the receivers are £100, you know, it can literally double the price of some of the models I've got here. Whereas, you know, something like the you know, like a micro Skyhunt. I'm looking at some pieces of over there. We'll probably have one of their little 9-pound receivers and one of the little 8 or 9-pound S-Bus decoders. Just sold the decoder straight to the receiver. Bob's your uncle. And then some, you know, and then stuff like this would have the regular R9 receiver, where you'd be looking at, as I say, £40. Comes with standard aerials, because I mean these aerials are like $15 each, which by the time you've shipped them, paid £8 shipping fee, which obviously it doesn't matter if you order 10 or 100 of those, they're going to be it's £8. So, like for example, I think I bought 4 of these and 2 of the turnstile blue ones, one of which got knackered in the sky. What was it called? The Sidewinder, and that's smashed into the ground 100 mile an hour. So yeah, it's a separate video will need to be done on the state of long range, as well as the state of radios in general. But anyway, this was sort of an update and then a sort of mini random rant on the end to do with the S1100. I am trying as much as possible, although it is hard at some points. Now I've started with the Free-Wing Avanti and then the video on what happened to the Kiki Yak, to try and keep these weekly as much as I can. Sometimes if I'm ill, I might not be able to, but we'll see how we get on. But anyway, maybe the next video that I do that isn't a camera video like this will be discussing the state of long range. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.